The Rubik's Cube. Arguably one of the most frustrating puzzles ever to be invented by the human race. If you're anything like me, you'll often find one of these cubes, convince yourself you can solve it, and then give up after about 5 minutes. And if, in the off chance that you actually do solve it, you put it on a shelf in your room just to show it off to your friends like, you see that? I did that. Urban Dictionary defines the Rubik's Cube as, quote, the devil reincarnate. It torments people for hours at end as they try to fix this impossible to solve cube. Many people seem to be under the impression that the Rubik's Cube exists only to make people look stupid or to get Will Smith a job in the pursuit of happiness. But in reality, there's actually a lot of really interesting things about Rubik's Cubes that people just don't know. So today, we'll start by scrambling the puzzle as we delve into the history of the cube and its inventor. Then we'll use an algorithm as we explore all of the numbers behind the cube. And finally, we'll orient the edges as we uncover all the different variations of Rubik's Cube. So let's start by scrambling the puzzle as we delve into the history of the cube and its inventor. Rubik's Cube was invented in 1974 by a Hungarian inventor and professor of architecture named Erno Rubik. According to Britannica, Rubik was born in Budapest, Hungary on July 13, 1944. He has lived his whole life in Hungary, and from 1962 to 1967, he attended school at the Budapest University of Applied Arts. According to Rubik, attending school was one of the most formative events of his life, stating that schools offered him the opportunity to acquire knowledge of subjects, or rather crafts, that require a lot of practice, persistence, and diligence with the direction of a mentor. Erno invented the first prototype of his cube while he was a professor of architecture at the Budapest University of Applied Arts in 1974. He was looking for a way to challenge his students outside of the textbook, so he made his first magic cube out of blocks of wood and rubber bands. According to the official Rubik's website, it took Erno well over a month to work out the first solution to this puzzle. Erno soon realized the commercial potential for his cube and started making and distributing them around Hungary. However, in the 70s, Hungary was behind the Soviet Union's Iron Curtain, and that made imports and exports extremely difficult. The magic cube, now made of plastic, was sold in toy stores around Hungary. However, Erno wanted his cube to achieve worldwide success. So, with his permission, businessman Tibor Laxi brought one of the cubes to the Nuremberg Toy Fair in 1979. He pitched the puzzle to the Ideal Toy Novelty Company, who renamed it Rubik's Cube, and began putting it on shelves in 1980. The Rubik's Cube gained immense popularity almost immediately, and the rest is history. So now, we'll use an algorithm as we explore all of the numbers behind the cube. Don't worry, we're not going to get into all of the crazy math that allows the cube to work because that would take way too long. But get this. According to CNN, 1/5 of the world's population had played with the Rubik's Cube at least once by the mid-1980s. And also, according to Time magazine, the Rubik's Cube is one of the 13 most influential toys of all time. Having sold over 350 million cubes since its release, the Rubik's Cube has become one of the most popular toys ever to be sold. I recently asked some of my classmates what they would guess the record time for solving a Rubik's Cube would be. They gave me answers such as 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute, etc. In reality, the record time for solving a Rubik's Cube is a mere 22.95 seconds. Or rather, it was in 1982. According to Business Insider, the current world record for solving a Rubik's Cube is a whopping 4.74 seconds. And as if the Rubik's Cube weren't complicated enough, turns out there are over 43 quintillion ways the cube can be arranged. That's 43 followed by 18 zeros. And only one of those arrangements is the solution. So how do people solve these 43 quintillion arrangements? Well, they use what are called algorithms. Merriam-Webster defines an algorithm as a step-by-step procedure for solving a problem or accomplishing some end, especially by a computer. In this case, an algorithm is a pattern of twists and turns that will align the cube in a certain way. There are several different methods to solving the cube. There's the most popular beginner's method, in addition to Ortega's method and the Waterman method. And then there's what's known as God's number. God's number represents the idea of solving the cube in the absolute minimum number of moves. The actual number was just proven to exist in 2010. God's number is 20. However, keep in mind that 20 is the upper bound, and it's actually theorized that the cube can be solved in no less than 18 moves. And finally, let's orient the edges, as we uncover all the different variations of Rubik's Cube. As time went on after the release of the original cube, different versions started popping up all over the place. Some invented by the original company, most, however, were made by other companies trying to profit off of the original success. The easiest way to sort through all of these cubes is to classify them as those recognized by the World Cube Association and those not. The World Cube Association, otherwise known as the WCA, is the company that organizes all of the official competitions you see videos of shared on Facebook. On the WCA's official website, they list a total of 18 competitive events. However, there are only 11 official competition puzzles. The officially recognized puzzles include the classic Rubik's Cube, in addition to the Pocket Cube, which features only 2 layers in contrast to the original's 3, and things get a little scarier when you move up to Rubik's Revenge, which has 4 layers. Also officially recognized are cubes with 5, 6, and even 7 layers. Not all of the officially recognized puzzles are cubes, though. For example, this is what's known as a Pyraminx, which, as you can tell, is a pyramid-shaped puzzle. Then there's what's known as the Megaminx, which is a dodecahedron-shaped puzzle with 20 movable pieces, the Square One, Rubik's Clock, and the Skew. As for unrecognized puzzles, that list is pretty much endless. However, there are a few examples I'd like to share with you. First off, this is what's known as an X cube. It looks pretty messed up right now, but when solved, it will actually take the shape of an X. Then there's what's known as Meffert's Gear Ball, which is a spherical puzzle made entirely out of plastic gears. And there are several different twists on the original 3x3's design, such as the Void Cube, which is missing its centerpieces, making it hollow, and the Mirror Cube, which looks innocent enough as is, until you start twisting it and realize it's something straight out of Inception. There are also various additionally layered cubes, moving all the way up to a 17 by 17. And then there's what's known as the Magic 120 cell, which deals with the 4th dimension, and I promise no complicated math, so we're not going to get into that one. The Rubik's Cube. Arguably one of the most frustrating puzzles ever to be invented by the human race. Today, we got a better look into this colorful cube. We started by scrambling the puzzle as we delved into the history of the cube and its inventor. Then we used an algorithm as we explored all of the numbers behind the cube. And finally, we oriented the edges as we uncovered all the different variations of Rubik's Cube. So next time you feel like throwing your Rubik's Cube against the wall, sit down and actually think about it. And if you can't figure it out, well, there's always the internet.